Yes, 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 yes. Straight talk, straight talk, straight talk. Straight talk, straight talk, straight talk. All right, all right, all right, all right. We're gonna let a few people get in here. If you're on Instagram, what's going on, Bobby Jean? I'm over here. My name is Sean Bolden, Sean B, in case you don't know me. Shiz, some people call me. Today I'm gonna touch on a subject that is a little bit touchy from my perspective because it's about something that I grew up in. It's about something that many people know of me. It's about hip hop, you know? And I'm going to talk about hip hop's influence on the community. And we're going to be talking about this from a standpoint of facts over feelings, because that's kind of my new understanding of how I want to approach things, approach life, approach relationships, approach all that stuff. Facts over feelings. I got that from a podcast that I watch, and my brother he's said it, and I watch him often. Dan is his name, and I'm gonna talk about it from that standpoint. All right, right now we're about to get started, but facts over feelings. I'm gonna look at some of these comments of them or see who come in. If y'all want to join me today, hip hop influence on community. Is hip hop and has hip hop have an influence on our community? And if so, what type of influence does it have? You know, as you can see, I got some hip hop plaques behind me. I think I see Eminem over here and Tupac over there, and we be clubbing up there, and the Dog Pound over there, and that's from Hits Magazine, and so I've been in the hip hop industry for some years, 30 plus years at this point. I'm haven't been in it directly all the time. Like right now, I'm not in it directly, but I have been a part of it for quite some time. And I have a view on it that a lot of people will not find popular, especially right now with the indictments of Young Thug and Gunna and them being locked up for the RICO. That's kind of where my whole thought of touching on this subject comes from. Because, quite frankly, the influence has it now to where they're locking up people, in my opinion, unfairly. But at the same time, I have to call, what I see. So right now, I'm going just to play a clip of something I was looking at earlier. All right. I'm going to play something, but as y'all can see in both Instagram and Facebook, as well as YouTube, hip hop influence on the community is what we'll be talking about today. My name is Sean Bolden, Sean B. Shiz, however you know me. And I'm just going to touch on it. And it's called Straight Talk. It's a straight understanding because I'm just going to shoot at it straight. And I'm not really concerned with opinions about me because anybody who actually knows me knows that I'm about fairness. Even when I'm in the wrong, I admit it when I am aware of it or when I can recognize it. Sometimes I don't recognize it and it takes a little influence or it takes a little persuasion on people giving me their perspective for me to be able to embrace it or embrace that I am learning or I'm incorrect in what I believe or an opinion that I have. But I will say this as well. In fairness, I don't try and just state my opinion. I try and state my observations. And with this subject right here, I'm going to state my observations because my opinion is that hip hop is an art form. Hip hop is something that has been so trend setting, so influential that it has touched the world, impacted the world in a very significant way. I'm going to play this video that kind of sums that up, at least the beginning part. I didn't look at the whole video, so we're going to watch it together. But I'm just going to play this real quick and we'll talk about it from that standpoint. All right. Bear with me while I get this video together. But hip hop and the influence on our community is what's being spoken about today. Like I said, this is straight talk, leads to straight understanding. And I'm going to talk straight to those who are on here tonight. What's going on, sis? How you been? I'm talking about hip hop influence on the community today. Thank you for joining me, Tish. I really appreciate when I see you. Congratulations to my nephew, my brother and my sister, Tish, and my brother Brett, my sister Tish, son Little Brett, who has gotten a scholarship to finish school. And no, it's not in college. He's actually getting a scholarship to go to a premier high school, a private high school. So salute to Lil Brett, his basketball. He's been putting effort into his basketball for some time. You know, he has been playing basketball for quite a long time, and he's been practicing since he's been 5, and he's been wanting to do this. So, all right, we're going to get on this. This is the first part of hip hop influence in our community. This is the influence of hip hop culture, rules to this that I'm about to play. Peace, True.
It's galactic. It's everywhere. When it was first created, it was like a revolution. I never heard people rapping. It was like falling in love.
Studying your history of music is the biggest part of music.
We showing up to these places to hear this music by the thousands. Why? It didn't only please our ears, it pleased our whole lifestyle.
All right. So that's just an intro to what I would call rules to this hip hop influence. And it kind of gave a little briefing of what I'm referring to, how hip hop has impacted the whole world. And it just hasn't impacted our community. We've impacted so many different breeds and things of within this community that, you know, I think that we need to really touch on it. So how influential has hip hop been on the community? And more importantly, at this point, what do you feel? Do you feel that hip hop's influence on this community is a positive influence or negative influence or both? Now, personally, my observation, it has its positive influences, it has its negative influence, but we speak more about its negative influences than its positive influences. And that's because although we are the most trend-setting, the most influential, the most creative genre in musical history at this point, because I don't know who has made us as a more significant impact in the world musically than hip hop. And that's my observation. It's not an opinion. It's my observation. Hip hop has touched the world more so than any other place. When you can have people who don't like or prejudice against certain parts of the hip hop community, but yet still support and play hip hop, that influence is impactful. That influence is something that, you is unmatched. Country music, for example, people who don't like certain people about in the country world don't listen to country music. But people who don't like certain people in the hip hop world listen to hip hop music. So, with that being said, we're going to touch on this. If anybody wants to join me, please feel free. I have posted the link, and I will post the link right now. I believe I have it here. Let me see if I got it. No, I do not. Hip hop influence. That's the pen. Uh, so the link is posted over here. If it's not here, it is. Let me post the link real quick. If you want to join me on stream on YouTube, which I suggest, that's the people who was able to see the video that I just played. My Instagram people can't see it, but my Facebook and my YouTube people were able to see it. So hip hop influence on the community. All right, let me get into it real quick. I said that this is because of or partly influenced by the court indictments or the indictments of Young Gunna and Young Thug, or Gunna and Young Thug, and some of the other ones that are coming up in the Atlanta area. Now, I speak on this because at this point, where do we start taking responsibility for exploitation? It only used to be, the funny thing is, if you're going to exploit something, at least like Young Thug did, and this is why I think it's unfair to him, is because he exploited a musical culture or a part of the community, the street element of the community, in order to gain some revenue legally. And I salute him because he extended that revenue and those opportunities that he created. He extended those benefits that he got from him speaking about the community to people in the community. He took care of a lot of people. So my reason for bringing this up, because here we have an example of a young man who utilized showing different elements or leaning towards the negative elements of our community, and he joined folks in sharing it. And while he joined folks in sharing it, he got indicted about it. And I think that's unfair to him because he was actually helping a lot of people in his community. And I think when his influence and his power that he was creating was intimidating to some people who were in law. Now, I don't know too much about the brother, and I'm speaking about Young Thug right now in reference to all that he was doing in the streets. I have learned a little bit about him in interviews since he's been arrested and prior to him being arrested. But the point is, I don't focus on all of the negative, and there are positive elements that I could focus on. The media is my point, that they are exploiting it, gaining interest and directing it, and have control over it better than we do. We have sources to control it, but we don't use those sources often. Hey, what's going on, Jim? And this is a part of what concerns me and hip hop's influence on the industry. Now, I've listened to quite a people who speak about this subject, and it varies on which side you take, because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. When you are speaking about the negative elements of what hip hop is influencing, how many hip hop artists are at this point in this day and age exploiting the street mentality, and how the influence is really starting to affect our community. And I'll say that because our family structure, we are losing a lot of our family structure, and the men and the women are going at each other. The black men and the black women are going at each other in our family structure, and it's being destroyed. And the power shift. And I was speaking this morning about it, and here's how I feel, or what I observe: women are doing what a lot of men have done, and men don't like it because what men were doing were taking advantage of their position of authority and abusing those who were under their authority. Now, in our family structure, it was structured to where the man was supposed to be the lead. And in your leadership, if you're exploiting your leadership in order to get your own personal benefits and not leading with any type of balance, structure, or morality, you start getting what people will call uh, you start getting mutiny on our ship, and that's what has happened. And now women have positioned themselves to be in control and empowered in the same way men were, and they're just doing what they've been taught by some men. And now we're upset about it. We're mad about it. We're like, oh man, y'all y'all are destroying things, and the black woman, y'all don't. But in fairness, they're just making what we did. And I say that because what has given us some more leverage and power other than education is hip hop. Now, a lot of people don't like to touch on this because, it becomes controversial. But hip hop has empowered us similar to how a badge empowers a police officer. And as we sit and we complain about how officers abuse their authority, well, the authority that hip hop has provided us, because education was the other authority that gave us, the other power that gave us authority. But with that authority, we sometimes abused it. We have abused it early in a lot of manners, but no one wants to address that. No one wants to say the abuse that we have allowed. We let the crack era really get out of control, unlike the eras prior to us that empowered and helped the communities build. Of course, I don't condone the destruction that it has had on our community, selling crack, selling drugs, or the illegal things. But I will say this: America has been groomed and built on these things, but they structured it in a manner that sustained the power and authority that they gained through those activities that some people might call negative, or some people might call now illegal. So I can't be mad at the American way when it comes to our community and us exercising the American way. What I'm mad at, if I'm going to be mad, is when you do it and you start abusing it and start basically becoming selfish about it, greedy about it, thirsty about it, which has happened in a lot of other communities. And I can understand the concept. But does it destroy things? Absolutely. Is it destructive in many ways? Absolutely. Is it beneficial in many ways? Absolutely, it's beneficial. But how are we going to sit here and speak about hip hop? Yo, how are we going to sit here and speak about hip hop? And this is hip hop has afforded me a lot of luxuries. It's afforded me personally a lot of uh, opportunities. It afforded me ways to feed my family. It afforded me ways to help people. All right, cool. It afforded me a lot of different things. But what I will say is that it was easy for me to abuse it where possible. And I tried my hardest not to. I tried my hardest not to abuse the authority that it allowed me. I wasn't always successful. Was not always successful. I'll say that firsthand. But as I mature, I'm gonna read your comment in a minute, Drum. As I mature, I gotta, really face some of these things. I wouldn't be so mad at the younger generation and what they're doing with hip hop if they controlled it. I'm only mad because they're not controlling it. They're allowing other places and other forces to control it. And we never controlled it in our generation. My generation being, the 80s to, let's say, 2000. We didn't control it. But this is the reason why it bothers me that the generation below us is not controlling it. Because we didn't control it, we kind of shared with y'all and helped y'all to where you should be controlling it at this point. And I just got a comment from Drunk. Bro, I honestly feel like hip hop don't exist on mainstream level no more. Rap and hip hop different to me. See, that's part of the control, in my opinion, that they have, is because they divide us. We now believe and start believing that it's separate. No, we are all from the same pool. We are all from the same tribe. Now, in those tribes, like for example, we all are the same race. We all, let's say, black. And we sitting here talking about, well, I'm not black because we married into other spaces and places, then that's on us. They're not controlling hip hop because they're not even controlling themselves. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And my point to that is that they should be. They should be controlling ourselves. But we are part of the problem. My generation. Because when we could have controlled it, we abused it. And they just looked at us, similar to what I was just describing with the women to the men, the kids to the older generation. They just looked at us, abuse it, sit there and use it, exploit it. We sat there, we did what drug dealers do. We brought all of the shiny gleam. We never invested into ourselves. We went ahead and invested into a lot of different beverages, alcoholic beverages, and I'm not mad at any of that. We should be doing that to gain more leverage to control what it is that we had created, but we're not. We actually are using it just to benefit ourselves, which becomes the abuse in that authority that we have. So these artists signed don't have creative control. NBA Young Boy can't put out a positive album even if he wanted to. That right there, bro, is not true. NBA Youngboy can do whatever he wants. And I'll give you an example of who gave us the opportunity and the understanding of being able to do that. There's an artist by the name of Prince. Prince. Anybody who's in my generation understands that Prince at one time had a little symbol that was created and he used to put it on his face. And under that symbol, it would say slave. And so Prince understood his power and he understood his power and his leverage that he had as an artist, his value. These hip hop artists do not. So that's the reason why they don't do it. But saying they can't do it is not true. It's not true. The formerly known as Prince, formerly known as, that era in that movement when he became formerly known as was because the powers were trying to say that he can't do what he wanted to do. Similar to what you just said, these artists can't do and they can't control. And he took the stand and said, okay, I won't do. I'll go under a whole nother moniker. And what you gonna do about it? And he fought the system to where he gave the understanding, the leverage, and the power, and he helped people understand that you are very powerful, and they cannot control you unless you allow them to. Because guess what? Without you, if you keeping the lights on in a building, without you, the building goes dark. But unfortunately, they've been playing trickery on your mind, thinking that without them, the building goes dark because they had the money, and glorify money more so than we glorify and value and understand the creative, the content that propels the money, which is the creative content. We create the content. If you have a television network, which a lot of them exist right now, and you don't have any content to put on that network is valueless. The reason why Netflix as a network or NBC or whomever as a network have their power is the content that they have put on or they have access to be able to put out. So they pay for that content to be able to put out on their network, similar to how labels pay for the content to be able to put out. Without the content, you will be Sling, not Netflix. No shade on Sling because they are growing and they are creating and getting content that people, you become Tubi, not Netflix. No shade on Tubi. They are growing. Both of those networks are growing, but they don't have the quality content to compete with Netflix right now, which is why Netflix is more popular than they are. So I use that and I put it into our musical community, and it's the same concept in theory. Without the content and understanding the value of the content that you created, the labels will not have the momentum. They will have all the resources, but they need to be able to exercise those resources through somebody who has popularity. And if you ganked all of the popularity via, now we have the social media platform, which empowered a lot of the artists to do what we could not do. You now do not need a label to expose your music and grow your influence. You are now going to labels very influential, very exposed, having your own audience. When you have 1 million followers, you are a network. You are a radio station in yourself. And if you don't understand that, that is the problem. That right there is the problem. So what I was going or commenting on, that when you said these artists are signed and don't have creative control, they don't take creative control. They have it. They don't exercise the power that they have. So the thing is, I'm gonna read you drunk. I'm gonna read another comment of yours, uh, and I'm going to start showing your comments. So this way, all right, says the thing about it is some of these artists are worth more dead than alive, and these labels and rappers know it. They ain't about to step out of line again. Your point is very well taken. This is our problem. This is why I say hip hop influence. So they're just not stepping out of line because they basically are not in it to build a community. They're in it to build themselves. So the influence that it has on a community is the influence that it has in their heart. Their heart is what drives everything. If they have, everything is led by your compassion, rather, is led by your heart. And your heart is what makes you or breaks you in reference to what you stand for or what you allow or what you sit back and allow. So to your point, you're right. And I'll read this point again. Drunk said, the thing about it is some of these artists are worth more dead than alive to these labels, and the rappers know it. They ain't about to step out of line. The problem is they're not. They become worth. You know how they become worth a lot more, dead or alive, because once they die, the media influence that is gathered in broadcasting their death becomes a a platform for them to capitalize off of. So it's kind of like a springboard, a diving board, springboard that they can spring off of. And they understand and always have understood how to leverage momentum. That's what they are asking. We created the momentum when we are an influencer or when we are somebody, our content has followers, a million followers. We have now created the influence. What labels, major networks, major media forces are or do well is they are able to understand when the momentum starts. It's kind of like understand when the ball gets rolling, and they understand how to push it downhill. And so, with that being said, it's not that the death is what causes it to be able to make more money. It's an opportunity of the broadcasting of the death. Because how many rappers you know that they are broadcasting, oh, another rapper killed it. You never heard of the rapper. You never heard a song of the rapper. You don't even know who the rapper is. But guess what? After they broadcast their death on all the media sources, it becomes valuable to those who know how to capitalize on the value of that exposure. That's what major labels do. They know how to capitalize on the value of exposure. What we should know by now, because that's all it's been, marketing and promotions is capitalizing on the value of the exposure that a product has. We understand it. We go to school for it. Why do we not control it? Why do we not utilize it better? Now, you said, I agree with you. This generation of rappers didn't start rapping because they love rap. They started because they wanted to get rich. True. And guess what? I can't knock them for that, because ultimately there are a lot of rappers from the 90s on who did the same exact thing. They did the same exact thing. Two rappers, they started getting in it for the business and the opportunity of rap. I can't be mad at that. We did it. They're doing it. They're doing it better than we did it. Problem is, they're not sustaining it. This is the problem when you don't have financial literacy, which we didn't have. You get the money and don't know what to do with it. That's our issue, and that's a whole nother topic. But let's get back to the influence of what hip hop is having on our community, because we are not aware and responsible with the authority that we gain from getting all this money. We don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to direct it. And people who do, they just go ahead and they benefit from it more than we ever do. So up here on Instagram, Sheila said, and now labels are buying life insurance on the artists. Okay, you're absolutely right. Labels are buying life insurance on the artists because, again, labels understand that it's worth their while. Why do people buy insurance? To insure their investment. And their investment in this case is the artist that they invested to. And when it's life insurance for your family, it's the family that you invested. Your family is your investment. And you get a life insurance policy to secure your investment. You're spending a lot of time to nurture, to secure, to your investment being your family, and you get a life insurance policy to help balance and to help secure them when you're gone. Labels are investing into these artists who are not taking the responsibility of being men or women that are not reckless and are out there getting killed and killing each other. The difference is, back in the day, a lot of people were rapping to get out the streets. Now people are rapping about the streets to get into the industry. that becomes a very significant problem, and it hence leads to the topic that I'm speaking of, which is hip hop influence on the community. We're not taking the responsibilities we can. So Sheila says on Instagram, and I'm gonna get to your comment, drunk. It says a lot of rappers I never listened to until they die. So you're right. But and if it wasn't for social media, we would not know them. That's the difference between rap in our generation and rap now, is that social media exists. So it's easy to understand that, man, I ain't never noticed cat before he died. I ain't never noticed cat before he got locked up, before he got shot, I ain't never noticed cat. So the child like mine will be like, well, so yo, I need to do some of that to get my leverage and opportunity. So they see it as an opportunity. I can't be mad at them. I can't be mad that they are seeing rap as an opportunity. So Sheila says, but it raises the question once again, are you worth more to them dead? Well, with social media, everything, and it's not just hip hop. We put it on hip hop in that sense. We put it on hip hop conveniently. Actors are worth more dead than alive. Look at I mean, we can go back as far as um James Dean. We can go about a lot of different actors. We could go about painters, or artists, literal artists who Van Gogh wasn't worth what they were worth dead when they were alive. So it's not catered to hip hop. Yes, hip hop is just recognizing it and they using it too, but that has existed before hip hop. Being where your value increases once you're dead, or people don't appreciate or show value in what it is that you're doing on life. Go biblically. Jesus himself, if you go to the Bible, Jesus himself was not worth what he was dead before. I mean, was not worth what he was alive before he died. I mean, so I can't sit here and put that on hip hop in that argument, because then it becomes a convenience as opposed to a fact. So, yes, you're right. It's not a question. Are you worth more to them dead? You're worth every industry, every world, influence. Like I said, religion, I've mentioned, sports, we could go into. We could go into entertainment, acting, and film. We could go into educators, Einstein, so on. So we can go into history, uh, uh, King Tottenham. A lot of people, a lot of things are valued after they are dead. That's before, as opposed to when they're alive. Excuse me. So yes, that is the case, but we know this. So that doesn't mean that you got to kill up everything. But for example, Drunk says, I love drill rap, but it changed hip hop for the worse. That's where rap took a dark turn. It affected every community. Wow. Uh I hear your point, but let me counter that point. We sometimes place judgment on drill rap. Prior to drill rap, we had, again, NWA. We had a lot of artists who were speaking about the streets, just had a different feel to it, and they were speaking about the glorifying the street life. Differences with drill rap, again, versus our generation, is not the content, is not the content that we had then, albeit it has gotten a bit more graphic now, but so has the world. Rated R back then used to be where there was a little nudity, or where there were like our videos that go on in hip hop. Those were rated R videos. Now, rated R is you damn near gotta show something so explicit that it turns your stomach before you get that rating. So it's not the content that is different. It's the exposure that is different and the normal and making it normalized. Right now, it's normal to see tits and ass. It's normal to see somebody shooting and killing, and it's normal. It existed before, but it was so far and in between because, again, we did not have social media. Social media, if we're going to put blame anywhere, we got to put the influence of social media and the leverage that social media gave hip hop and gave media and gave other different entities. But how they use it is different. We all have the same availability. We all are now um, people who, and I'm going to get to that. We are now people who have the power to influence millions of people in a second. We couldn't get that much exposure in our days. And you said, but NWA wasn't this and dead people. I can't sit here and I'm not gonna go, into NWA's lyrics because I don't want to target NWA as the that they were doing bad. The NWA gave us a lot of opportunities. The way and the content that they spoke of allowed us and afforded us the opportunities to even have these conversations. So I don't want to pinpoint specific lyrics of any artist, not NWA, not Young Thug, not actions we feel, and it's our heart again. And thank you, Pastor Jamal Bernard, who brought that to my attention this weekend or Sunday yesterday. Our heart leads what we do. So when we start becoming heartless, is what you're describing. When you say, yeah, but NWA wasn't this and dead people. Their heart was a little bit more content. But guess what? They were being disrespectful as well. They definitely were disrespecting women. They definitely were disrespecting their enemies or what they call their ops. So the extent of the disrespect, we want to sit here and determine the extent of disrespect. Disrespect is disrespect is disrespect. Like I just said with nudity and what's going on in the ratings, all we're doing is rating the level of disrespect. But the point is that the heart is what made it disrespectful. If I am being disrespectful and I'm like, yo, um, F your brother, just because you take it more personally, if I say F your mother, the point is I'm saying F your people regardless. Only thing that changes is your feeling about the person. So we could sit there and say, um, you know, disrespecting the grave and principles. I agree with you. I'm not disputing that. It has gotten worse, as you just said. It has gotten worse. But the point being is that as bad as it has gotten, we never take accountability for what it has become. We never take accountability, which if we don't ever take accountability, we can't ever have a resolution. And at this point in my life, I'm speaking about resolutions. I'm not condemning or I'm not trying to condemn the hip hop community. I'm not asking them to change their ways. I'm asking them to look at their ways a little closer. Because guess what? If I can't condemn them without condemning media, I can't condemn them without condemning uh, uh, the major labels or the major entities that are as influential or more influential. What I condemn or the difference is that they are going into it as a business and they're only trying to capitalize off of whatever's going to sell. I'll give you an example of how right now they are doing it very well. We have created a trend. Black community again has created yet another trend. Hip hop was a trend that we created, and we're now literally in the midst of creating another trend. The trend being black man versus black woman. This is a trend that is going on right now. There's a lot of validity to it, but it's a trend. And guess what they're doing right now? While we're arguing and beefing with each other, and we're trying to see who's right and who's wrong, and who got the leverage, and who needs to be in control, who ain't being controlled, who's power, who's a simp, who's a pick me, who's this and who's that. They are advertising our trend, and they are capitalizing on our trend. Have you heard about a movie called Woman King? Have you seen some of the advertisements and how they are right now talking about how empowered and leaning towards the power, the disconnect that we are trending right now and we are creating? Have you seen and looked at how they aren't caring about what's trending in the moral compass of the trend? They're not caring about the destruction that the trend might create. They never had. That's where we got an NWA. That's where we got a Two Live Crew. They didn't care about what it destroyed. They care about what they can capitalize. And we have learned the same principle, except we haven't learned how to direct our trends that we create. We created the trend of hip hop and being able to talk about the street. We created that. We created the ability for the women's movement to be able to be more free and exploiting their bodies and showing. We created that before hip hop. Guess what? There was black exploitation movies, and they were brilliantly written, negatively overtoned, but brilliantly written. We created a trend there. Hip hop is just a child of that. And guess what? Difference is they are controlling our trends. They're doing it right now, and we still don't see, and we still don't come together to understand how to better be part of it, or how to better control it, how to better capitalize off of it. So hip hop influence, I am not mad at hip hop influence. Whether it's negative, you know how they say bad, a good press or bad press, it don't matter, just give me press. Well, I'm a firm believer in that. You know, I was having a conversation on fan base, and they was like, yo, so you agree with the destruction that drug dealers is who was selling crack, and you agree with that? I said, yes, absolutely. It's the American way. I can't sit here and get mad at my brothers who capitalize on the American way, and until they are just doing it for selfish purposes. That's my issue. Selfish purposes. Hold on one second. My mother is chiming in. I don't think she knows what she's doing, but we're going to sit here and entertain it. All right, mama. Come on in. You can come on in. Hey, mama. In case y'all don't know, I'm on Instagram. My mother just joined me. She don't know it. Hey, ma. Hey. Yes, you are on live with me. This is the first time. I told you she ain't really know what she was doing, but ma, what we talking about, huh? What we're talking about right now, hey, Aunt Sherry, is hip hop influence on the community. And I was speaking about, not that whether it's negative or positive is not what I was trying to speak on, although it did go into that direction through some of the comments that I'm getting. But the point is that it's influencing us, but we're not controlling it and we're not benefiting from it whatsoever. And I was just giving an example. Somebody had told me on fan base, which is kind of like another social media platform. They said, so you agree with people who are selling drugs and destroying the community? And I said, I absolutely do not disagree with them. I said, what I disagree with is when they start doing it for selfish purposes. but it's the American way, meaning that they're not extending it to anyone except themselves. They're not benefiting anyone except themselves. Like if they're benefiting, because although they destroyed the community, I know a lot of drug dealers, and you probably do in your generation as well, who helped out the community. You know, yeah, because exactly. And so I can't sit here and be mad at somebody who is helping the community. And that's kind of the point that I was making. And if you don't want to be on camera, you can press the little camera, I think, button, and it'll take you off, but you'll still be able to be heard. Because I see your camera going. All right, cool. So, but what I was saying is that, and your generation did it even better than our generation, because we have hip hop, and we use hip hop to award us some financial gains. The problem is that because we didn't have financial literacy, we didn't know what to do with the money once we got it.
No, y'all just brought gold and teeth and all that crap.
Right.
And what do they call them now? The gold pieces they put on the diamond, the
Grills. Yeah, and we did things that we did not. Aunt Sherry said she loved your hair color, Mom. And so I can't put it on hip hop. Like one of the comments, I'm on Instagram over here and YouTube, and I'm speaking with Drunk, and he says we live in a world where the best way to get noticed is to cause destruction and division. And what's interesting about that is that he's absolutely right. I can agree with that. But the thing is, that's the American way. American was built on destruction and division.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and taking you away from your country to have destruction.
And taking you away from your country to absolutely, because they were dividing you in order to control you. And earlier on, he made a comment. He said, hip hop and rap are different. And I said, that's what they're doing, and using the same tactics as far as dividing us and making us believe there's a difference between hip hop and rap, when in fact they come from the same root. They are the same thing, and they're dividing us is just giving them leverage to be able to control us, because they don't need to control something that is killing off itself.
Well, they're trying to control because they are killing off themselves. That's it.
Ooh,
it's like rosewood, okay? Like rosewood. It's like right now, the white society is upset because the black society is so influential. Because basically, we were never taught black history. We were only taught white history.
Well, you got to realize.
First history is black history.
And agreed wholeheartedly. But the point is, to your point, that is how they have control. They divided that history from us.
I understand, and that's what I'm agreeing with you.
I know you are. I get it from you. So we're speaking to the choir, basically speaking to each other, because you definitely, you are the tutelage of myself. So a lot of the information that I have is provided through your knowledge and your wisdom. So thank you. And so I'm just expounding on your point so that other people can understand it. That you are saying they divided our knowledge, they divided our languages, they divided our families, they divided, and I won't even say they, just white people, because slavery existed before white people. Slavery existed before America. So American slavery is different though. So I can't dispute that, because American slavery was more savage than, slavery back before America was looked at almost like work. And it wasn't really, they chose to kind of work for somebody, and they called it, they called it slavery, and it was different than the savage brutality that they forced people to do
No,
in
I'm just
America.
saying, when you think about it, it was the same because they were taking you from someplace else and they was forcing you to do what they wanted you to do by not giving you books, by not giving you your history at all. I
And,
mean, as an adult, as your mother, I learned so much in the last, I'd say, 10 years about Black history, which I didn't know. And when you come down to it, majority of history, when you think about it, every day you find out that some Black person invented something else that we have taken for granted, and we automatically thought the white man did, invented it.
and,
That's
and,
kind of,
and I can't dispute that. I'm going to read some of the comments
yeah.
on Sherry. First off, I got to give a shout out to Brett because his influence and knowledge that he has learned has influenced both of us in understanding America, Black history, etc. So I want to shout him out. But on Sherry said, "You done a good job."
Thank you very much. I worked hard at it.
And thank you, Sherry. And then Sheila or Smouve said, "We influence American culture when not even trying, and they capitalize on it before we can, and then they try to gaslight us about our influence." And she's absolutely right. The word nowadays is called gaslighting, but when I was working at labels, this was being done, and it was being done. I got 1 minute, Ma. We got 2 minutes before this live ends. So I'm just gonna wrap it up with saying yes, it's absolutely right, Sheila. And the problem that I have with hip hop and its influence is that we just don't understand how valuable we have been and how powerful we can be if we understand that value. And we don't, and that's my issue with hip hop's influence on the community, and not understanding the value of the content that we create. And content is not just the musical content, but the content that that sports entertainment provides, the content that film and television entertainment, the content that education that my mother was just referring to, on the inventions that we contributed to. All of that is content, and we don't understand the value until, unfortunately, people die at many times. And in fairness, you're right, but in places we have been taught, but we don't even use those teachings or that knowledge to our benefit. And that's part of the issue as well. So we got 44 seconds. Thank you for joining me. I love you, Ma. I love you, Aunt Sherry. And I'm going to say this before we leave. Heavenly Father, we come to you today to give you the praise and honor that you so rightfully deserve. We thank you for your presence in our lives and your guidance in our lives. Forgive us for any sins we commit knowingly or unknowingly, and provide us the understanding, the direction in order not to commit those sins in the future. We say these things humbly, extend this to all those who we know and love, and all those who know and love us, as well as those who don't, and so that we can extend and realize and understand your influence. We say this humbly in your Son Jesus Christ's blessed name. However, those who I'm praying for know you. Amen and amen. I love you, Mom. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Instagram, we out. Peace. All right. So that was my straight talk. I thank y'all for joining me here on Facebook. Drunk, I appreciate all the comments. Definitely gave food for further discussion, and we should have more discussions about this. So with that being said, peace to my Facebook and to my YouTube people. Subscribe if you haven't. Subscribe to my Instagram. Subscribe, and so that we can have more of these conversations, and we can utilize these platforms and the value of these platforms to our benefit in sharing information that we've been speaking about. All right, with that being said, peace, unity, and love to you all. I love you. Have a good one. Thank you for joining me. Straight Talk Lisa, straight understanding. Straight Talk Lisa, straight understanding. Thank you, Tanya Jenkins, whose birthday is coming soon, for helping me in developing this. And I want to say peace to you all. All right, Straight Talk Lisa, straight understanding. Every Monday at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern. And I'm Sean Bolden, Sean B. However you know me. Peace.